So if you could just individually present yourself and who you are and what you do. But you could just stand together. So we'll do the whole thing together. Yes.
Ladies first.
I'm Alina Harastasanu. I'm a Director of European Business Development at JobsOhio.
Paul Zito, Vice President of International Development with RGP Northwest Ohio.
Cool. So if we just move on to the questions. So what potential do you see for Danish companies in Ohio and Columbus also in general?
Just a word of advice, I represent the whole state.
Yes.
And Paul represents the north-west region, so
Okay.
I can talk to the state, not necessarily about Columbus.
Just the state in general and your area, Paul, that would be fine. Yes.
So I can start, I guess, at the state level. I think that Danish companies, very much like all the European companies, can take advantage of a couple of aspects that the states can offer, advantages and assets, among which still we are a state with a relative low cost of operation for companies, maybe the last frontier in the United States. We benefit from an incredible logistic position where companies can reach their customers within 1 day drive. About 60% of the North American population can be easily reached. Not something that we created, but something that we benefit with our neighboring states in the Midwest. The state definitely hits above its weight when it comes to concentration of businesses, especially Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies. So if you think of what drives in general a decision, ability to be close to suppliers and close to customers, but recently talent, as we've seen today, has become number one concern. So we're a state that has a tradition in manufacturing. We have the second largest workforce in the United States when it comes to manufacturing. It's we're not saying that it's easy, but it's definitely there, and companies can tap into that. We are a state that yields a lot of graduates, especially in engineering. If you take Columbus as the center of the state, in a 2-hour drive, there are 30,000 engineers that graduate every year, and I know that's important for European companies and Danish companies as well. We are traditionally a manufacturing state, and that will probably never change, but the 3 Cs, what we call the 3 Cs of Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland, are emerging as incredible competitors in the service industries as well, whether that is healthcare or IT, financial services, the cross-pollination between the three.
Ohio is a very comfortable location for Danish and Nordic companies. There are hundreds of European companies that have had operations in Ohio for decades. Historically, European companies have found it advantageous to be in the heart of manufacturing, in the heart of markets. Companies from the Nordic region like Trelleborg and Gluden Marstrand have recognized the very talented workforce that exists in Ohio.
So how do you think that Nordic companies can use Ohio as a foothold to expand further into the North American market?
Oh, that's easy. Ohio has a great infrastructure of export assistance programs available from the state government, the state of Ohio. has funds, grants to give to companies that manufacture in Ohio and want to export. And quite often European companies will manufacture in the USA and certainly export to Canada and Mexico, our neighbors, but quite often will even export to Asia from the USA, having logistics advantages of being closer to Asia, but also having the Made in America stamp on their goods. There are programs available regionally within Ohio and locally with the universities, chambers of commerce, and I and my colleagues with JobsOhio can easily plug Nordic companies into those export programs.
If I may offer a statistic, there are about 10,000 people that are employed by Nordic companies now at the state level. Front runner of that is Sweden. Danish companies, I guess, are lagging behind. 500 jobs, Celia Pharmaceutical being the main employer. But that says a couple of things, that Nordic companies have found a home in Ohio, that they are willing to talk about how they did that and the stakeholders that they have worked to make that happen. You know, a lot of businesses come to the United States driven by their clients. One very recent example is the Danish company DSV that is locating very close to the Intel development. So obviously the business is driving that decision. But we can definitely help that process between the state, the region, and the local stakeholders to make it as easy as possible for them.
Interesting. So what are some of the challenges in workforce development that Ohio solves in a good way or a unique way that you think will benefit Nordic investors?
JobsOhio is a unique economic development agency that is privately funded, and one of the recent programs that they've developed is Talent Attraction Services, which in effect creates an HR, a human resources department for a company to help them with things like marketing themselves to young people, to attract employees, making sure that their website, particularly if it's a European or Asian company, that it appeals to a young workforce. The Talent Attraction Services program will even target certain types of skills and people that have those skills through social media and other formats. Of course, we also traditionally do help companies with job fairs and job postings, etc. But what really makes it unique, in addition to the funding that JobsOhio spends on talent attraction, is the cooperation from the state, from the regions, and from the local communities, making it easier for a European company to attract a workforce and retain a workforce.
So the talent acquisition service was designed with foreign companies in mind and the challenges that they would have when they come for the first time to the US through Ohio. And it's basically, helping companies build an employer branding and everything that comes with that. As I mentioned, I don't think there's a location now in the United States that can say they have available workers waiting for investment. So the idea is, how do we help international companies, Europeans in our case, recruit from an existing industry, whether that's suppliers or competitors or clients. So these people work somewhere. How can you, a newcomer on the market, attract and propose yourself with an attractive proposition? A tool, a grant that existed before is the workforce grant, which is meant for internal training. So companies that need to bring people from the mothership, let's call it, to Ohio to train the new employees, or to have some of the employees in Ohio go to the mothership and be trained. We support some of the costs associated with that, whether transport or accommodation. But our tools, the tools of the talent acquisition service and the workforce development grant, are complementary tools to what the local communities already have, and through the partnership with the technical colleges, universities, and so on. So they're not meant to overlap, but they're meant to complement. Our tool maybe is more immediate, whereas on the medium and longer term, there's different opportunities and solutions at the local level.
Cool. So, drawing from your experience and expertise, what do you think, or what makes the site selection process successful, in your opinion?
We've been told by many site selection consultants around the world and many companies around the world that what I call the flow of an economic development project works in Ohio the most efficiently and most swiftly, from the state, JobsOhio, to the regions such as RGP Northwest Ohio, or Team NEO, or One Columbus, the other regional partners, to the local communities and counties themselves. Quite often, a European or an Asian company will come to a certain state where the state economic development agency does not interact with the local economic development organizations or the regional economic development organizations, and that creates noise and that wastes time. The flow in Ohio, again, state, regional, local, is the best in the USA.
From what I have seen, we and our partners are only as good as the company is willing to disclose what drives the project and what they're looking for. We find ourselves a lot of time guessing and working with a lot of ambiguity. Whereas if the companies would be a little bit more forthcoming, we would probably be able to identify the right solution faster and more straightforward for them. The other thing I would say, I think successful site selections take into consideration the pure economic case for the company and for the project, and less the financial incentives, whether it's state and more recently federal level. I feel like there are a lot of consultants or clients that are going on a wild goose chase, trying to force a round peg in a square hole, and that's usually wasting a lot of time, and it's not very productive for the company, and most likely will not lead to the best solution for the company.
Cool. So the last question is, if you could give one piece of advice each to Nordic investors who want to come to the United States, or maybe Ohio in general, what would you give of advice?
I'll start saying United States is a huge country, and there's more than just New York, California, and maybe Chicago. Chances are for companies, especially smaller family-owned companies, the best solution is probably somewhere in the middle, and they would only gain from giving these locations a chance, especially if we're talking about a state like Ohio that it's number one or two in many sectors and subsectors and has a tradition in that particular industry.
My top advice would be to study the market and the industry that the company is in, and have a very well-developed business plan, addressing not only the site that you want and the physical structure of the building and the land and the infrastructure, but include in that business plan your workforce needs, your strategy for sales, for marketing, for employee satisfaction, for dealing with legal issues and tax issues and accounting issues. And that's where economic development agencies such as JobsOhio and RGP Northwest Ohio can help. Just the information that we have on our website or in our files on various industries can help a company from the Nordic region.
And maybe just a little bit of flexibility. I understand that some companies come with a very clear idea of where they want, but when they are in the market in the United States, be able to adapt your plans based on the reality on the ground.
Great, amazing. Thank you so much. I think that's it.
Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Yes.
All
so,
right.